If you ever met Kola for the first time, you would probably like him. He had a bright smile that made aunties forgive his lateness. He greeted elders with enough "good afternoon, sir" to sound respectful. He even had that confident city boy swagger that made younger boys admire him and younger girls whisper, "This one has sense." But people who truly knew Kola knew the truth. Kola's biggest problem wasn't laziness. It wasn't wickedness. It wasn't even pride. It was stubbornness. The type of stubbornness that turned simple advice into a fight. If you told Kola, "Don't climb that wall," he would climb it, then sit on top like a king. If you said, "Don't talk back," he would talk back, then add extra words for emphasis. If you warned him, "Don't touch that thing," his hand would start itching like he had pepper on his palm. And the worst part, Kola didn't even do it because he needed to. He did it because someone told him not to. He enjoyed proving people wrong the way some people enjoyed winning money. Back in the city, Kola worked a stressful job that made him tired but also made him feel important. On weekdays, he wore a shirt that always looked like it had been ironed by anger. He fought traffic every morning as if Lagos roads were a personal enemy. He joined meetings where people spoke big grammar and still said nothing. And every evening he returned home drained, complaining loudly about how everybody was too controlling and too dramatic. His friends had learnt something early. With Kola, the more you begged him, the more he resisted. One Friday night after a long week, his phone rang. It was his mother. "Kola," she said gently. "How are you?" He sighed, flopping onto his bed. "I'm alive, Mama. This Lagos is not easy." His mother chuckled softly, that warm village laugh that always sounded like soup simmering. "My son, you have been saying that for years." "Well, it's true." There was a small pause. Then she said, "Come home for some days. Rest. Breathe village air. Eat real food. Let this your head calm down." Kola almost refused purely because it sounded like an instruction. But this time, his body betrayed his stubbornness. His bones were tired. His mind was noisy. Even his sleep was not sweet anymore. So he agreed. "Okay," he said, trying not to sound too eager. "I'll come." His mother sounded relieved. "Good. Your people will be happy to see you." The next morning, Kola packed a small bag and boarded a bus heading out of the city. As the bus left the tall buildings and honking madness behind, his shoulders loosened. The air changed. The noise reduced. Even the sky looked wider. By the time he arrived at his village, the sun was already leaning into evening. The village greeted him the way villages always did, slow, curious, and full of eyes. Small children shouted his name as if it was a festival. "Kola! Kola has come!" A few women, wrappers tied firmly, laughed and clapped. "Ah! Is this not Mama Yuzo's son? The one that went to city?" Old men sitting under a shed nodded with that calm authority of people who had seen plenty years. One of them murmured. "Welcome." Kola stepped down from the bus like a celebrity. He stretched his legs, adjusted his shirt, and inhaled deeply. The air smelled like dust, leaves, firewood, and peace. His mother rushed out of the compound and hugged him tightly. "My son." Kola smiled. "Mama, you've not changed." His mother pinched his cheek. "I have not changed, but you have changed. You are now big man. See muscles." Kola laughed and followed her into the compound. Everything felt familiar. The low wall, the cracked steps, the old mango tree, the sound of a radio playing in the distance, and the faint smell of soup. He ate that night like someone who had been hungry for years. Real pounded yam. Really goosey. Real village chicken that didn't taste like rubber. After food, he sat outside, watching the darkness settle gently. The stars were bright, too bright compared to the city. In the distance, crickets sang as if they were paid. For a moment, Kola felt calm. But stubbornness doesn't sleep just because the night is peaceful. The next morning, Kola woke early and walked around the village like he was inspecting it. He greeted people, shook hands, and smiled. The elders watched him with quiet amusement. As he walked farther beyond the noisy compounds and small shops, he reached the edge of the village where the bush began. That was when he saw it. Tree. Not just any tree. It stood alone, tall and wide, as if it had decided to be the boss of that side of the land. The trunk was thick, the bark dark and rough like ancient skin. Its roots rose above the ground in heavy curves, like giant snakes frozen mid-movement. But what caught Kola's attention most was the shade. The tree's shade was deep and cool, even though the sun was already getting hot. Under it, the air looked calmer, like the tree had its own weather. Kola walked closer, eyes shining. He was the type of person who always spotted opportunity. In the city, he had been thinking of starting a side hustle, something that would bring extra money. And recently, he had become interested in handmade crafts. Weaving, wooden stools, baskets, carved designs that sold well online when marketed properly. He looked at the tree again. This wood is mature, he thought. Strong. Perfect. Kola reached out and touched the bark. Felt cold. Not normal cold like shade cold. More like night cold. He pulled his hand back slightly and frowned. Then he laughed. Maybe because it's big, he said aloud, as if to convince himself. As he turned to leave, he noticed something else. No one was near the tree. Not even goats. Not even children chasing each other. The area was strangely empty, like the village had agreed to give it space. Kola's curiosity rose. Later that afternoon, he sat with his mother and a few relatives outside, watching women pass with buckets on their heads. Kola casually mentioned it. "Mama," he said, "I saw one big tree near the bush side. That tree is strong. Oh. If I take small wood from it, I can weave some fine things." The way the atmosphere changed was immediate. His mother's smile disappeared like Nipa light. His aunt stopped chewing her kola nut. Even his cousin who was playing with a bottle cap froze. "Kola," his mother said slowly. "Which tree?" "The one that stands alone near the bush," Kola replied. "Big one." His mother's eyes widened. She looked around quickly as if the tree could hear from afar. "Aha," she whispered. "No, not that one." Kola blinked. "Why?" His aunt leaned closer. "That tree is not for weaving." Kola scoffed lightly. "Auntie, it's a tree you people and your village fear." His mother's voice became firm, the way it used to be when he was small and refused to bathe. "Kola, I am warning you. Don't go near that tree again." Something inside Kola reacted immediately. That familiar itch. That stubborn fire. When people said don't, his spirit always heard try it. He sat up straighter. "Mama, why are you warning me? What is inside the tree?" "Money," his mother hissed. "Don't joke with that matter." Kola laughed, waving his hand. Okay. I won't touch your special tree." But even as he spoke, his mind was already working. So they are hiding something, he thought. That's why they are shouting. And deep inside him, where stubbornness lived like a proud tenant, Kola had already made a decision. He would go back. Not because he needed the wood immediately. Not because he had customers waiting. But because the village had said don't. And Kola had always loved don't. That night, as the village slept and the crickets sang, Kola lay on his mat staring at the ceiling. His mother's warning replayed in his head. "Don't go near that tree again." Kola smiled faintly to himself in the darkness. "Tomorrow," he whispered, "we will see who is afraid." And outside, far beyond the compound, the lonely tree stood in silence, wide, ancient and waiting, its leaves stirring softly, even though there was no wind. Morning came softly to the village. The sun did not rush in like it did in the city. It rose slowly, stretching golden fingers across rooftops, brushing the earth gently, as if greeting old friends. Roosters crowed with confidence. Women swept their compounds in steady rhythms. Somewhere, a radio played a low gospel song that mixed with the sound of pestles pounding yam. Kola woke up feeling unusually alert. Not rested, alert. His eyes opened quickly, And the first thing that crossed his mind was not food, not bathing, not greeting anyone. It was the tree. He lay still for a while, listening to the quiet sounds of the village. His mother was already awake. He could hear her humming softly as she moved around. The normalcy of everything almost made him doubt himself. Maybe they exaggerated, he thought. Villages always exaggerate. Kola sat up. In his mind, the warning had already lost its power. It now sounded less like wisdom and more like superstition, something people used when they didn't want to explain themselves. He stood up, bathed and dressed casually. When he came outside, his mother handed him a plate of food. "Eat," she said. "Then you can follow your uncle to the farm later." Kola nodded absently. His eyes wandered, scanning the road that led toward the bush. As he ate, elders passed by and greeted him. "Good morning, Kola." "Good morning, sir." One of them paused, looking at him closely. "You slept well." "Yes, sir." The old man hesitated, then said quietly, "Remember what you were told yesterday?" Kola forced a smile. "Yes, sir." The elder nodded slowly, but his eyes lingered on Kola's face longer than necessary, as if trying to read something written there. As soon as his plate was empty, Kola stood up. "I'll just walk around small," he said. His mother frowned slightly. "Don't go far." "I won't," Kola replied. But his feet betrayed him. Instead of heading toward the farm path, he turned left toward the bush. The farther he walked, the quieter everything became. The usual village sounds faded behind him. Even the birds seemed fewer. The path narrowed, grass brushing against his legs as if trying to slow him down. Then he saw it again. Tree. In daylight it looked even bigger. Its trunk rose high, proud, and unbothered. The bark was darker than before, almost black in some places, with strange natural markings that looked like lines drawn by careful hands. The roots still curled above the ground, thick and strong, as though the earth itself could not hold them down. Kola stopped a few steps away. For the first time since arriving in the village, something like hesitation touched him. The air around the tree felt heavier. Not hot, just dense. The shade beneath it was darker than normal shade, like the sun refused to look directly at it. Kola laughed softly. "Fear is powerful," he said to himself. "You people have scared yourselves too much." He stepped forward. As soon as he entered the shade, his skin prickled. Felt like stepping into cold water without warning. Kola paused, surprised. He rubbed his arms and looked around. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. No insects. No birds. Even the leaves above barely moved. He bent down and picked up a small stone, throwing it at the trunk. But nothing happened. He nodded, encouraged. "You see," he muttered. "Just wood." He raised his hand and knocked on the tree. The sound echoed oddly, deeper than expected. Still nothing happened. Kola exhaled, relief creeping in. He felt foolish for even doubting himself. But just as he turned to leave, a sharp pain shot through his palm. He hissed and pulled his hand back. A thin line of blood appeared across his skin. Kola stared at it, confused. "There was nothing sharp," he murmured. The tree stood quietly, unmoved. His chest tightened for a moment, but he shook it off quickly. "Coincidence," he said. He wiped his hand on his trousers and walked back toward the village, trying not to think about how cold the shade had felt, or how the silence had pressed against his ears. That evening, Kola sat with some young men his age near a fire. They joked, laughed, and shared stories about the city. One of them asked, "So, how is village life treating you?" Kola grinned. "Peaceful. But you people fear too much." They laughed. "Fear what?" one asked. "That tree near the bush," Kola said casually. "Everybody is acting like it's a god." The laughter stopped. One of the boys frowned. "You went there." "Small," Kola replied. Another shook his head slowly. "Why would you go there?" Kola shrugged. "Because people like to exaggerate." The boys exchanged glances. You didn't hear the stories? One of them asked. Kola leaned back. Stories don't scare me. The boy hesitated, then spoke anyway. That tree has been there before our grandfathers were born. People used to cut from it long ago. Strange things started happening, people falling sick, tools breaking, people getting lost in daylight. Rumors, Kola interrupted. The boy's voice dropped. Then one man tried to cut it at night. He never spoke properly again. Silence followed. The fire crackled loudly, as if filling the space. Kola felt a small knot form in his stomach, but pride pushed it down. You people should stop believing everything, he said. Fear limits progress. No one argued with him. Later that night, Kola lay awake again. The thin cut on his palm stung slightly. He turned his hand over, studying it in the faint light. He remembered how the tree felt, how cold it was, how quiet everything had become. For the first time, doubt whispered softly in his mind. But stubbornness spoke louder. If it were truly dangerous, he thought, something would have happened. And just like that, the doubt disappeared. Instead, a new thought took its place. I should go back. Not to touch it this time. To cut it. Just a small part. Enough to prove everyone wrong. Enough to show that fear had made them prisoners. Kola smiled to himself. Tomorrow night, he whispered. Outside, the moon climbed higher, pale and watchful. Far away, the tree stood unmoving, its roots deep in the earth, its leaves whispering softly to one another, like elders discussing a stubborn child who refused to learn from words. The night Kola chose was quiet, too quiet. The moon hung low and pale, like it was unsure whether it should watch or turn away. The village had settled into sleep early. Doors were shut. Fires had died down. Even the dogs, usually alert and restless, lay unusually still. Kola waited. He lay on his mat, eyes open, counting his breaths. Each time he thought about his mother's warning, he felt that familiar irritation rise again. Don't touch it. Don't go there. Leave it alone. He clenched his jaw. Always don't, he muttered. As if fear has ever helped anyone. Slowly, quietly, he stood up. He slipped his feet into his slippers and picked up his tools, small but sharp, wrapped in cloth so they wouldn't make noise. He paused at the doorway, listening. His mother's breathing was slow and deep. She was asleep. For a brief second, something like guilt flickered inside him. He ignored it. Outside, the night air felt thicker than usual. The path toward the bush looked longer somehow, stretching like it wanted to test his resolve. Kola adjusted his grip on the tools and kept walking. Each step took him farther from the safety of familiar sounds. Crickets that had been singing earlier fell silent as he approached the forest edge. The breeze died down. Even the moonlight seemed dimmer beneath the trees. Then he saw it. Tree. At night, it no longer looked impressive. It looked aware. Its massive trunk loomed in the darkness, roots twisting above the ground like living things frozen mid-crawl. Shadows clung to it unnaturally, refusing to move even when clouds passed over the moon. Kola stopped a few steps away, his heart beating faster than he expected. "Nah, just tree," he whispered, though his voice came out weaker than intended. He stepped forward. The moment he entered the shade, his ears rang. Not loudly, just a faint pressure like being underwater. The air felt colder than the night should allow, brushing against his skin like unseen fingers. Kola swallowed. "This is nonsense," he said more firmly now. He knelt, set down his tools, and chose a spot near one of the thick roots. He raised his machete. The first strike landed. Bunk. The sound was dull, heavy, wrong. Not the sharp crack of wood splitting, but something deeper like hitting damp earth. Kola frowned and struck again. Bunk. As the blade touched the tree the second time, the ground vibrated slightly. Kola froze. "Did you feel that?" he whispered to himself, then shook his head. "Imagination." He raised the machete again. Before it could land, a sudden gust of wind rushed through the forest, strong enough to make him stumble backward. Leaves exploded into motion, branches creaked loudly, and the air filled with a deep, rumbling sound. The tree shuddered. Kola's heart jumped violently in his chest. "Okay," he said quickly, stepping back. "Okay. I hear you." But stubbornness, that old companion, pushed him forward again. "One more," he muttered. "Just one." The machete struck the tree a third time. This time the forest responded. The ground shook, not hard, but enough to make Kola lose balance and fall to his knees. The roots beneath him shifted slightly, pressing upward. The air grew unbearably cold, and the ringing in his ears intensified until it sounded like whispers layered on top of one another. Then the voice came. Not loud, not shouting, but deep, ancient. "You were told." Kola gasped, scrambling backward. His tools slipped from his hands. Who is there?" he shouted, his voice breaking. The leaves rustled violently, though there was no wind now. Shadows twisted unnaturally along the trunk. "You were warned." Kola tried to stand. His legs refused. Panic surged through him like fire. He clawed at the ground, dragging himself backward inch by inch. "I'm sorry," he cried. "I didn't know. I didn't believe, please." The roots beneath him shifted again, rising just enough to trap his legs gently but firmly, like a parent restraining a reckless child. The voice spoke once more, slower this time. "You listen only when pain teaches you." Suddenly the pressure released. Kola felt himself thrown backward as if pushed by invisible hands. He rolled across the ground, gasping, until he hit a small mound of earth. The forest went silent again. No wind. No whispers. No movement. The tree stood still, unchanged. Kola lay there, trembling violently, his chest heaving. His entire body felt weak, as though strength had been drained from his bones. Slowly, painfully, he pushed himself up. His legs burned with a dull ache. He staggered to his feet and ran. He didn't look back. By the time he reached the village, dawn was breaking. His clothes were dirty. His hands shook uncontrollably. Sweat soaked his shirt despite the cool morning air. He collapsed at the entrance of his mother's compound. When the villagers found him later that morning, they gathered in stunned silence. Kola was alive, but something was wrong. He could not stand properly. His legs trembled, and each attempt to rise ended in a painful collapse. His eyes were wide, unfocused, like someone who had seen something too heavy to carry. His mother rushed to his side, crying out, "Kola, my son, what happened?" Kola opened his mouth, but no words came out. Only a hoarse sound, half breath, half fear. The elders arrived soon after. One look at Kola and they knew. They didn't ask many questions. Instead, one of them sighed deeply and said, "The tree has spoken." Kola lay there, staring at the sky, his body aching, his pride shattered. For the first time in his life, stubbornness had led him somewhere he could not argue his way out of. And as the sun rose fully over the village, one truth settled heavily in his heart. Some warnings are not meant to be tested. They are meant to be obeyed. Kola did not walk again for many days. He lay on a woven mat in his mother's room, staring at the cracked ceiling as sunlight crept in and out through the window. His legs were not broken. The village herbalist said so. His bones were strong. His blood was fine. Yet every time he tried to stand, pain surged through his lower body like fire, forcing him back down. It was as if his legs remembered something his mind wished to forget. The village changed around him. Word spread quickly, quietly, respectfully, but quickly. People came in small numbers, not to gossip, but to confirm what they already suspected. They sat, greeted his mother, looked at Kola with soft eyes, and left without saying much. No one mocked him. That hurt more than laughter would have. His mother rarely left his side. She brought him food, wiped his face, and sometimes just sat in silence, watching him like she used to when he was a child with fever. One afternoon she finally spoke. "Kola," she said gently, "what did you see?" Kola swallowed. His throat felt dry, though he had been drinking water. The memory pressed against his chest like a heavy stone. I heard a voice, he said slowly. Not like a human voice. His mother closed her eyes. The tree, she whispered. Kola nodded. Tears burned his eyes. Mama, I didn't believe you. I thought you were just afraid. His mother sighed deeply. Fear is not always weakness, my son. Sometimes it is memory. Later that evening the elders came. They did not come angrily. They did not come to scold. They came like men who had been waiting for something to finish. One of them, the oldest among them, sat close to Kola. Young man, he said calmly, do you know why we did not explain that tree to you? Kola shook his head weakly. Because some people hear explanations and still do not listen, the elder continued. We saw stubbornness in your eyes. Explaining would not have helped. Kola winced. The elder went on. Long before you were born, that tree was marked. It was left standing as a reminder. Not everything in life exists for your use. Some things exist to teach restraint. Kola's chest tightened. Another elder added, the tree does not kill. It warns. But it does not repeat itself. Silence filled the room. Kola felt shame wrap around him tightly. He remembered every time he had laughed at advice, every warning he had treated like a joke, every moment he had confused pride with courage. I thought stubbornness made me strong, he said quietly. The old man shook his head. No. Stubbornness only proves how loud ignorance can be. The words landed hard, but they were true. That night Kola cried. Not loudly. Not dramatically. He cried the way people cry when they finally understand something too late. Days passed. Slowly the pain in his legs reduced. With support he managed to stand for short moments. Each step felt heavy like walking through deep water. The village herbalist continued his treatment, but everyone knew the healing was not only physical. It was inside. One morning Kola asked to be helped outside. His mother supported him carefully as he stood under the open sky. The village looked the same yet different, quieter, busier. From where he stood, he could see the path leading toward the bush, toward the tree. His body stiffened. I want to apologize, he said suddenly. His mother looked at him. To who? To them. To the elders. To you. That afternoon, Kola asked to be carried to the village square. People gathered slowly as news spread. They watched as Kola, once proud and loud, sat humbly, supported on a stool. He bowed his head. I thought I knew better than everyone, he began, his voice unsteady. I believed advice was control. I believed warnings were weakness. He paused, swallowing. I was wrong. The elders listened quietly. I have learnt that not every rule is meant to limit you. Some rules are meant to protect you. Silence followed. Then the oldest elder nodded slowly. Understanding has entered you, he said. That is good. As the crowd dispersed, Kola felt something lift from his chest. That night, for the first time since the incident, he slept peacefully. No whispers. No ringing ears. No shadows in his dreams. But one chapter was still unfinished. The tree had spoken, and the lesson was not yet complete. Time changed its pace after that. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, carefully, Kola began to walk again. Not with the careless confidence he once had, but with measured steps, as if the ground itself deserved respect. His legs still ached sometimes, especially at night, but the pain no longer felt like punishment, felt like memory. The village watched him quietly. They noticed the change before he spoke about it. Kola listened more. He spoke less. When elders talked, he no longer rolled his eyes or smiled politely while planning his own way. He asked questions. And when advice came, he paused before responding. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in soft orange, Kola sat outside with his mother. Mama, he said, why didn't the tree kill me? His mother stirred the pot slowly. Because the lesson was not death. It was understanding. Kola nodded. That night, he dreamed of the tree. But this time it stood quiet and still, its leaves glowing faintly in moonlight. It did not speak, did not move, simply existed. And for the first time Kola felt no fear. Before returning to the city, Kola did something unexpected. He asked to be taken near the tree, not to touch it, not to challenge it, but to acknowledge it. The elders agreed, watching him closely. Kola stopped several steps away. He bowed his head. "I came with pride," he said softly. "I leave with wisdom." The forest remained silent. The tree did not move. And that was enough. When Kola returned to the city, people noticed the difference almost immediately. He no longer argued just to prove a point. He no longer mistook defiance for strength. When told don't, he now asked why, and listened to the answer. Some friends laughed. "You've changed," they said. Kola smiled. "Yes, and I'm still alive because of it." Years later, whenever someone younger challenged advice with stubborn pride, Kola would tell his story, not dramatically, not boastfully, but honestly. "Some lessons come as words," he would say. "Others come as consequences." And he would always end with this. Stubbornness feels like courage until wisdom arrives. But wisdom stays longer. Not every warning is fear. Not every rule is control. Sometimes wisdom speaks softly, and consequences speak loudly. A wise person learns from advice. A stubborn person learns from pain. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, kindly give it a thumbs up, tell us what you think of the story and where you are watching from in the comment. Also, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Bye for now.